Hello! Welcome to the Cleveland Marathon Podcast. I'm your host, Adam, and I'm here with my co-host, Jen. Jen, how are you?
I'm doing good today. I'm super pumped to talk to our guests today about the Cleveland Marathon. I can't wait for you to do their introduction. Other than that, Adam, I had a very thrilling game of dodgeball, mother-son dodgeball with my 7-year-old today, and it was a fundraiser for school, so it was a blast, but I had to hurry up and get home and get ready because I'm so excited to talk to our guests today. So how are you doing, Adam?
I am doing excellent. As we already know, we're just a few handful of weeks away from the main event, the Cleveland Full Marathon. So on today's episode, we are talking about, I'm going to even interrupt myself because I brought a whole thing of notes. I'm here. I'm going to be a sponge with this information. I'm going to just soak in everything our guests say today. It's going to be a lot of pens ready, everything. And it's a lot of phenomenal information. Everything we'll be covering today from, the final weeks of training to what to expect in the Cleveland Marathon, how to fuel, everything for that. It doesn't matter if you're a first-time marathon runner or a first-time Cleveland Marathon runner, from elite level to individuals like myself that are just excited to finish. There is something here for you. It's going to be a lot of fun. And our guest today, Jen, as you already said, it's going to be awesome. But before we introduce them, I just want to remind the audience to please like and subscribe to the Cleveland Marathon YouTube and Spotify channel. Jen, our guests today are individuals that you and I both love. They are our ambassador. I was going to say teammate. They're family to us. You and I know that. These individuals have traveled all over the world running world majors while representing Cleveland all at the same time. Jen, on today's show, I would like to welcome Christopher Thaxton, Joanna Consiglio, and Tyler Vitullo. How are you guys doing today?
How's it going, everybody?
Doing great.
Good.
Thanks for having us.
This is going to be an excellent show. I'm so excited to have you guys on.
I felt like we were watching like the WWE introduction. You guys were about to walk into a ring. That was awesome, Adam. We're excited to have you guys here today.
I kept the pyrotechnics down to a minimum on today's episode just for safety reasons.
Safety, yeah.
So, first question for you guys. How did you guys become marathon runners and then eventually ambassadors? Because obviously you have to crawl to walk and eventually you have to walk to run. So, Joanna, would you like to kick it off?
Sure, I'll start. So my story of how I got into running is I was always that kid that sucked at every sport. I could not catch a ball, kick a ball, throw a ball, couldn't do it. And I so desperately wanted something I was good at. And then probably in high school, I realized I couldn't really catch or kick or throw, but I could get to one side of the field probably faster than everybody else. So someone was like, no, you should just run. So that's kind of how I just started running, just totally on my own, never on a team, just, going around my neighborhood. And then eventually I did a half marathon, which led to a full marathon, which led to the Boston Marathon, which led to where I am now. So yeah, just kind of picking that up. How I became an ambassador was Cleveland was my very first marathon, 2016. I was out there. If you remember 2016, it was a crazy day. And somehow it did not scare me away from the marathon. So 3 years ago, when I saw the ambassador opportunity, I knew I was like, okay, I've been running for about 10 years, pretty solid. This would be a good chance for me to kind of go back to where it all started. So, yeah.
You found your sports team.
I did.
Where you fit, yeah.
Yeah, now I'm on a team. Now I'm not just running alone. I have a community and people, so it's pretty fun.
Awesome. Chris, you are the veteran on the team. You've been an ambassador longer than anyone on this episode. How did you get started?
I started running. I went through a pretty big weight loss journey. I was mid-30s, about 100 pounds overweight. Decided I needed to make a life change. So I started changing diet, and just walking as much as I could. I even started running for the weight loss journey. But after I lost, like I said, about that 100 pounds, I wanted to find a way to keep it off. So I'm like, well, walking's one thing. What if I started running? So I started, I'm like, wonder if I could run for 10 minutes, in one spot. And I did, and I slowly added on from there. And it just kind of kept on pushing myself further and further and further, all the way up to, marathon running and trying to do them as fast as I can. Became an ambassador in 2020, and why Cleveland meant so much to me is because when I was going through that weight loss journey, I remember walking downtown, and it was the marathon weekend. I had no thoughts of running a marathon, at that time, but being there at the finish line and kind of seeing everything that was going on, I'm like, man, I wonder if this is something I can do. I just in the middle of accomplishing this weight loss goal. So I said, what's next? I started thinking, okay, can I do that? So my first race was the Cleveland half to see, and that was the big build up to go there. So ever since, Cleveland's been just, the core of my running, where I always come back to. I've run every distance in Cleveland, and it's my favorite weekend of the year every year.
Awesome. And can you do us a favor? Zoom out and show the audience the wall behind you.
All right. So there you go. This is my office here. And yeah, that's just my tracks, my posters there. I don't have as many as some other ambassadors on the call, but not bad.
You're almost there.
That's amazing.
one more to go. I don't have New York on there because I haven't run fast enough there yet. But once I run fast enough there, then they'll get a poster, and then Tokyo hopefully in the spring.
Yeah, and speaking of Tokyo, Tyler, konnichiwa, welcome back. For the audience, Tyler just ran the Tokyo Marathon. Tyler, the floor is yours. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. So yeah, I just finished the 6th World Major. Super excited for it, but honestly, even more excited for spring about to come, the Cleveland Marathon, that whole weekend. It was really the start of my distance running journey. I started out, played a bunch of sports in high school and college, but was never into running. One day the week after commencement from undergrad, a local church that I went to growing up had their yearly 5K, and I was at the festival and just decided to run it, having no idea how far 5K even was. So I did like a fun, like full out sprint as if I was just like running to first base, and then walked for like 10 minutes and then just kept going like back and forth between sprinting and walking. But yeah, eventually I joined up with the Second Soul of Youngstown, started running with them, and eventually just decided to take the leap into the Cleveland Half Marathon in 2015, which is surprisingly, it'll be the 10-year anniversary of that. And then, yeah, the following year, I also did the full marathon in Cleveland for my first full. And yeah, that's still probably the only time I've ever run in hail, snow, rain, all the conditions. And then it was a beautiful day afterwards, which was like the strangest thing. And then, yeah, I joined the Cleveland Marathon Ambassador Program last year. I've always run with a lot of the run groups once I moved to Cleveland in 2021. So I've had a lot of friends in the running community and just thought it'd be a great place to join a group and use what I've learned from running races in the community to see where I can go from there. I do have this with me just in case.
I'm going to show and tell today. That's amazing.
Awesome. And Chris and Tyler, correct me if I'm wrong. That's how you guys originally met, was through a Cleveland run team, correct?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, so me and Tyler, I think I met Tyler just from going to different, run groups and stuff like that. Like I remember, I think one of the first times I ran into you was one of the Cleveland Marathon, the pub runs, the Fleet Feet pub runs. I would see you there. Not that, I mean, I'm not fast when it compares to the people I run with, but it was surprising when there was somebody that was, that could run with me up at the front there. So that's why we started running together, is because somebody that could kind of match my speed there. And he's well surpassed me, so I must say that. But yeah, it was somebody that was faster. So we started talking there, and then yeah, we kind of run with the same kind of group of guys now.
And that's what I absolutely love to hear about the Cleveland Run community. If it's the run clubs to this actual race, the community and friendships that bond from it, it's an awesome, awesome thing. So we are weeks away from the Cleveland Marathon, meaning we still have weeks of training to go. Time to motivate everyone, including myself. As you can tell, I am personally getting a little bit nervous as the long runs are kicking in. Everything that involves the anxiety of running the big race. You guys have done this countless times. So I think my first question for anybody, staying motivated and positive, what would you tell somebody like myself, literally, to keep my head up and keep moving during this training process?
Yeah, I mean, I'll jump in on that one. And the reality is, it's you're not always positive. I mean, marathon training is really tough. It beats you down. I mean, there's a reason why it's such a tough goal to accomplish because it's not all happy. You go on to social media, Instagram, everybody's posting these great runs and everybody's happy. The reality is, it's so many ups and downs, and there's down times, and it takes so much of your time and your energy. And there's sometimes you're wondering, why did I do this? Why did I commit to training for this marathon? And know that there's going to be dark times in there, but just try to keep that goal in front of you and try to keep on, knowing that you're accomplishing something each day by going out there. And then you start matching, some of those good days with the dark days, and then you get to race day and you forget all those dark days, and it was just the greatest thing ever, and going to sign up for the next one. I can't wait.
Yeah, to add to what Chris said, this is the hardest part of training right now. These next couple weeks leading up to peak week, it is the hardest point mentally because you're tired, but physically, I mean, physiologically, this is when your body is going through the most breakdown physically, and that also will reflect mentally of how you feel about it. You're going to feel more stressed and anxious because your body is kind of in a fight and flight mode. And that's why a training is set up to kind of go up and then go down. So these next couple weeks, as you're peaking, your body truly is breaking down. And then when you go into that taper, things will start repairing and come back stronger so that you can run the race. So I've ran 9 marathons. This is the point where I'm always like, I'm done. I just want to run the race and be done with it. So it's very normal to feel nervous and unmotivated and even like a little bit like stiff and achy, and your body might not feel the best right now. It's because it's not functioning the best. That's why you're not running the marathon tomorrow. You're going to taper into it. So just understanding that that is normal and you're going to be okay. Like this, we're all going through it together.
Yeah, I agree with them. I mean, the funny thing is Chris and I run together at least 3 days a week. And at some point within those hour to hour and a half runs, at some point we always talk about how tired we are, how sore we are. But that's what training's supposed to do. You're pushing yourself. You're going through the soreness now so that you're more ready on race day. And you just have to remember that's part of your training. Whether you're working with an individual coach or following a training plan, it's meant to push yourself to be ready for the race. So like if you're having a bad day, you just have to move on, go to the next day, and trust that when you get there, you're going to be okay.
I have 2 follow-up questions. I want to know, you guys have all ran multiple marathons over a long period of time. Do you still get nervous every time you toe the line? You guys are nervous leading up to it. So these weeks just leading up to the marathon, you're still nervous as experienced marathon athletes, runners.
So all the time we put in, I mean, it's, whether it's 14, 16-week training, but you're doing that, you're putting in hundreds of miles. I mean, every day you're doing something towards it, week after week. And it's just, you're putting all that into it. And then you get one shot, one day for it all to come together. Yeah, there's definitely nerves. Did I just waste all of that, hundreds of hours and hundreds of miles of work and doing all this for what? I'm always nervous going into a race, but once you cross that start line, it just kind of goes away, and you just fall back on your training. It'll get you there.
I'm nervous for every race, whether it's a 5K, whether it's a full marathon, every single race. I'm always like, oh my God, I'm still nervous. And part of that is, I think, the adrenaline kind of revving you up and because you care about it. Yeah, that's what it is. When you care about something, you're nervous for it. So it's totally normal and it gets better. Like you learn to kind of understand that this is just nerves, but it doesn't necessarily go away at any level.
The nerves really change throughout, like, as you get experience. When I first started the marathons, it's like, I hope I can finish this. Or what, like, if the weather's bad, am I gonna like be able to survive the race? Like, it's a long way. But as now it's like more of, am I gonna hit my goals? Am I going to fuel properly? Am I going to just all the small things that go on? But yeah, the more you practice and the more you prepare, the better it'll go for sure.
Yeah. And there's a lot you guys can do to prepare. And I know we want to talk about that today too. We talked about, I mean, no, Joanna talked about like just the breakdown of your body. Like, what are you guys doing outside of running to take care of your bodies leading into race week and make sure that you're ready? Hopefully, kind of tame some of those nerves going into it, knowing you're going into it healthy, hopefully.
Yeah, I think you have to everybody's situation is different. And stress is stress, whether it's mental stress, physical stress, work stress, family stress. So, like, everybody's scenario is going to be different. I definitely don't buy into the whole we all have the same 24 hours in a day. That's totally wrong. Like, for me, I have a very physical job. So, if I'm also maybe in my peak week of training, I really can't do anything extra. That's when I have to maybe slow down on like extracurricular activities with my friends or extra additional workouts. Like I have to start conserving energy because I'm expending so much energy in my workday. And I think that's true for most of us. When we start getting to those high miles, we have to start looking at our life, and it's not realistic to say like I'm just not going to go to work this week or I'm just not going to take care of my kids, but there might be other things that we have to sacrifice at a short period of time to make sure you recover. Like you need to sleep, you need to eat, and you need to maybe stretch and do some mobility every once in a while at least. So you got to carve that out in your day, and that might take away from other things that you enjoy. But you'll get back to it. Like once the race is over, you can go back to all that stuff. You just got to temporarily take a look at that.
I agree with Joanna there. It's with the time too. Like I said, a lot of those stuff that you're doing, like strength training, all that, a lot of that you should be doing in the off season. You can do stuff like while you're racing or whatever, but once you start ramping up those miles, it gets really tough to do more. Like I said, marathon training is all about sacrifice, and one thing you can't sacrifice is rest and recovery. As a mid 40s runner, it just emphasized more the older I get that your body needs to recover from those hard days, and if you don't do that, that's when you start running into injuries and stuff like that. So yeah, rest is just so important.
I hate to agree, but yeah, rest is vital. It's very hard, like especially as the weather is getting nice here. Everyone's going for runs, and I live right between Lakewood Park and Edgewater, and everyone just, hey, we're gonna go run a easy 5 or 6 miles, or we're just gonna go do a 2 mile walk. Those things do add up. So you definitely, as you're getting into the last stages of your training, you don't want to add anything extra. Even if you don't think it's going to bother you, it might be one of those things that bites you on race day.
We're only like give or take 15 minutes into this show, and I feel like I just got a whole school of information. And so that's the first of many times I'm going to say thank you. I already feel better. Like, I mean, Jen can attest, this is the most quiet I've ever been on this podcast, and I'm proud to say that.
He's taking all the notes. Adam's going to have all the notes.
The next question, all three of you guys might jump in immediately. So I'm actually excited to see your guys' reaction to my question. How important is fueling and hydration during this process?
It's going to be if you're going to finish or not. Like that at the end of the day, if you've been following a 16-week whatever training plan, great. You should be able to get to the end. But if you are not fueling right, as someone who's made that mistake so many times, that might be the difference between you finishing or not. So you really, really have to take it pretty seriously, and you have to start now. You have to start now. You need to test out the goos, the fluid. Do not try and do it the week before the race because that's going to be a disaster. So that needs to be built in your training from this point going forward if you haven't done it already.
Chris, I saw a big smile on your face. I know you have. Yeah.
Yeah, this is my wheelhouse, right? Because it's something I had to learn, right? I went through the weight loss journey. That was very, very tough to overcome. Thinking I need to eat, and at one point I needed to put on weight, and that was very mentally tough for somebody who went through a weight loss journey. But it realized that I was keep on getting injured, and the only solution to that was fueling properly. Like we talk about all these auxiliary things like super shoes and all this other stuff that's going to make all that doesn't matter if you're not fueling. Okay. And like Joanna just said, it's not just on race day. You should be fueling properly for your long runs, for your workouts, all that stuff. I always go carb heavy on Friday before a Saturday long run. I'm always hydrating. I'm always bringing stuff on the run, and usually stuff that I train with is stuff I'm going to use on race day. I'm not going to switch and say, okay, well, it's race day, so now I'm going to use the expensive stuff rather than the cheap stuff. I'll train with it because I know my body is used to it, and that's what my stomach is used to, and I don't have any issues on race day. But the amount of carbs and fuel that you're putting in your body is a direct reflection of not just on race day, but throughout your training, throughout the entire process of training.
Now, during the process of training, how does that go from, say, 3-4 weeks out to the week of the race? How does that change at all? Or
So week of the race, like I'll really start watching what I'm trying to get my body kind of ready for race day. So I'll really watch. I don't nothing nothing new on race day. It's nothing new race week for me. I'll just go to the what I know works for me, what's simple, and then usually I'll do a 3-day carb load as a recommendation from my favorite influencer there on Instagram there. But she has a 3-day carb load that I follow, and that seems to work for me. So again, if it's a Sunday race, that Thursday, I'm counting every carb that goes in and trying to hit that number.
I follow the same thing as Chris, the 3-day carb load. You do feel like you're eating a lot. The time when I PR'd the Boston Marathon 2 years ago, I remember going to the start line and telling everyone like, "Oh, I feel awful right now. I feel so full.
Yep.
I feel like I'm flat. I have no energy." But I ran through the finish line. I could have run at least 3 more miles if I wanted to, like at a fast pace. So it makes a huge difference. I'd love to know what the guy next to me on my flight to Tokyo was thinking, because we're on a 14-hour flight from New York. And like every hour I'm pulling out of my book bag. I had like a 5-pound bag of gummy bears. I had like 2 sleeves of graham crackers, 6 bagels. I was just snacking the entire time. But it totally is worth it in the end.
Yeah, for me, my first 2 marathons, I didn't like use any gels at all. And then going into my third marathon, I started working with a coach, and she was like, "Hey, you got to take a gel every 30 minutes." And I was like, "Ooh, I don't know." But that was the difference between I had a 3:45 marathon. When I took the gels, I had a 3:26. So it was like a significant jump with, yes, a little bit better training, but really, I truly think it was the gels that made all the difference in getting that 20-minute PR. I will say the biggest mistake I see with people is when they start to taper, they're not as hungry. Your mileage goes down a little bit, you're used to running a ton, and they think, okay, I'm not running as much, so I'm going to be eating less. That's actually incorrect. Okay. Your body in that time is recovering. So you actually should be eating a little bit of extra so those muscles can heal in terms of, carbs and proteins. And it can be tough because I know I go through that where I'm like, I'm not really as hungry because I'm used to running 20 more miles a week. And you do kind of have to be really intentional about that if you don't have that hunger cue, but also don't think I'm not burning as many calories, so I don't need to do this, because you're trying to get that energy for recovery. So if you don't have that energy there, your body's not going to recover. You're not going to get as good of a taper, and that is going to be tricky on race day.
Yeah, when you work for 15 straight weeks to prepare for a race, don't think of the taper as like your vacation. Like, oh, I only have to run
Hmm.
a third of the miles now. Like, that's not your break. Your break is after the race. So in
Hmm.
that week, you definitely have to take it seriously if you want to excel on race day.
I have to ask, what is everybody's carb load meals?
Yeah, when you talk about carb load meal, like Tyler was saying, I mean, if you're doing a carb, and I'm sure Tyler, we're similar body types, so when you're like 500 to 600 grams a day is usually what I'm trying to get. So
Yeah.
I mean, pizza and pasta, of course, but I mean, you have to take in that many. I mean, just throughout the day, you're eating bagels and graham crackers and pretzels and crackers and just anything that's carbs that you're trying to get them in through the day. But yeah, definitely night before, simple pasta, no chicken, no meat, just simple pasta and some bread is my night before go to. But again, remember that carb load is 3 days, not just the night before.
Yeah, I do a lot of rice. I do a lot of really simple stuff, a lot of rice, a lot of pretzels. Pretzels are my go-to because they also have the salt. But I also try to make it a little fun. I try to make it a little seasonal. So spring races, jelly beans, like that's just what I've been doing. And then fall races, candy corn. So I try to give myself a little bit of excitement. Or I'll go to like Trader Joe's and I'll go get all like the pumpkin spice, like flavored stuff. So you can make it exciting, but also honestly, most of my carb load is pretty boring because I don't want to like mess with my stomach. So it is a lot of just like potatoes and white rice.
Have you guys ever made any mistakes on race day? Like you guys all, I think you all mentioned that, and you've learned from that. That's clearly how you've gotten to the point you are now. Was a lot of trial and error leading up to now. Has there ever been a time where you've tried something new on race day that did not go well for you, or just any other experience as far as the fueling where you really felt like I'm definitely not doing that anymore?
I got to tell you, I don't know how many times I've said nothing new on race day, nothing new on
Yeah,
race. And then I was sitting there in my hotel night before Chicago Marathon in 2022, and I was having issues with cramping. So like looking, okay, well, you think of protein and stuff like that. You're like, well, no. If you drink carrot juice, it'll help you like with cramping or whatever. So I'm like, oh, I need to get some carrot juice in there. So I went and had some, carrot juice delivered to my hotel and drank that. And the next morning, I spent most of the time not in the corral, but over in the bathrooms. And yeah, it was a very by the time the race started, I felt so depleted just because it did not agree with me, and it was a struggle of a race. But yeah, that was a mistake.
write that down, Adam. No
Yeah.
carrot juice the night before race day. Write it down.
Again, if you do it, then do it. Whatever it is. I mean,
Do it now.
Do
Yeah.
it now.
if that's what your routine is, do it. It was not my routine, and my body was not ready for it.
Yeah, I don't think I haven't had too many issues. Definitely before long runs. Oh my God. Like Chipotle before a long run. Don't do that. Like that's so stupid. I don't know why I even did that. But for my first half marathon, I was in college. So I was at the University of Akron and I was running the Akron half marathon. So my carb load was like anything I could get in the dining hall. So it was Ben and Jerry's ice cream and those like pre-popcorn bags, like pre-popped popcorn bags. And that's what I sat there and ate. And my roommates who were not runners were like, I don't think that's right. And I'm like, and honestly, it worked for me. So I don't recommend that at all, but I did okay, surprisingly.
Last year in London, I ended up around mile like 14 or 15. There were just so many people on the course. And at one point, I tried to pull a gel out of my pocket, and all three of them fell on the ground, and there was no way I was stopping to grab them. So the last two gels I took were from the race, which I'm sure they were high quality gels, but it was something that I don't know if they even sell in the US, but I tried it out. I definitely wish I had water to take with it. And it didn't cause any issues, but it was just kind of like a internal panic when you're in the last 8 miles of a race, like, oh gosh, what's going to happen now?
So, the night before the big day, what are you guys doing?
Put your feet up and relax. Like, don't do anything. That's my advice. Before the Boston Marathon, it's so tricky because you're out walking around. And I just remember the night before looking at my Garmin and seeing like 40,000 steps and being like, dang, that was wrong. So I just don't do anything. Don't have any plans. Don't go out with your friends. Put your feet up, pick a movie out, and get your carbs in. That's it. That's your night.
Yeah, do your sightseeing after the marathon. I mean, I always felt good. Like you think that your legs are going to be dead. I always feel good walking around a little bit after. I think it helps with the recovery. But yeah, I mean, if you're coming to Cleveland, there's lots of cool things to see, and sightsee. But they're all open on Sunday, so either do them on Friday or after the race because that day you get a little shakeout run in, and then after that, it's all about that rest and getting mentally ready and just letting your body rest to get ready for race day.
So let's talk about race day. That's a good transition to the subject. The Cleveland Marathon. For those, obviously, as we mentioned, Boston, London, Tokyo. For those that are coming into the city of Cleveland to run the Cleveland Marathon, obviously, they may not know the roads and the course and everything. What advice do you guys have for the new Cleveland Marathon runners?
I said my advice is to be don't overly worry. Like, don't worry about things that you can't control. Like, I've always said, like, oh, of course, like looking at different, all the different turns or whatever it is, don't worry about it. Most likely, you're not going to be leading. And if you are, there would be a car in front of you or a bike. So just follow that. Other than that, there's going to be people in front of you and you're just going to go with them and you're going to work your way through the course. So don't worry about, different turns or hills. When you get to them, you'll be ready. Your training got you there. So just go with the flow of the race, and like I said, just enjoy the day. Don't worry about things you can't control.
Yeah, even like as we get closer race week, I'm sure 10 days out, someone's going to be on some Facebook page saying, "Oh my gosh, it looks like it might be this degrees," or "There's a 40% chance of rain." You can't worry about any of that stuff. My best advice for actual race day, and I guess it's personal for everybody, but like I like to show up as early as possible. The organization is great. It's so easy to get into downtown. There are plenty of restrooms available, but you don't know how the day is going to go or how many times you'll need to stop by. Like, get there early, feel prepared. That way you're just in the moment from there. Show up to the start line and give it all you've got.
Yeah, I think, every marathon is hard. No one signs up for a marathon thinking it's going to be easy. No matter, it could be the most perfect day, it could be the flattest course, it's still going to be a hard race. So, stressing so much about the course and, oh, there's a hill at this mile and all this stuff. I mean, maybe early in your training, prepare for that. But when it comes to like the week of the race, kind of just forget about it and show up on that start line and just know it's going to be a journey no matter what. Try to like take in the scenery. I think what's great about the Cleveland Marathon is you're not just like in the middle of nowhere, just on a straight path. Like, you're running through the city, you're seeing all the major landmarks, there's people out there cheering. So there's a lot to almost like distract yourself with. And so just like take it in and just don't stress. I mean, you can't change the course. The course is set. You should have looked at that ahead of time, and it's gonna be okay. You're gonna be fine. You're gonna get to that end, and it's gonna hurt no matter what. So
As the guy who does the course studies, I completely agree with you. It's the answers to the test are already there, turn by turn, landmarks. Know before. I agree tremendously with that. And my joke always is, if you go too far north, the lake will tell you itself.
yeah, you're not gonna get lost in this race. I have ran races where you get kind of lost. This is not one of them. You will be fine. So if you're lost, then you're doing probably really well because, like Chris said, you've beaten the lead vehicle. So take that for what it is. But don't worry, you're not gonna get lost.
I think that's the biggest complaint that I hear every year about, oh, there's not enough bathrooms. There's not going to be enough bathrooms. That's just the way it goes. This isn't your local small little 5K. It's the Cleveland Marathon. There's thousands of people out there. They could get every porta potty in the city of Cleveland there. But when you have thousands of people all wanting to use the bathroom 5 minutes before the race starts, it's not going to happen. Like Tyler said, get there early, plan ahead, know that last half hour or so, you're not going to get in that bathroom line. Otherwise, you're not going to be at the starting line when the gun goes off.
One thing I'd like to say about the course too is don't stress about the actual layout or that there's elevation or anything like that. But if you know some of the hills, like the Scranton Hill, you could use that to your advantage where you either take a fuel or take your gels like 20, 30 minutes before that so it hits you right on time. You can tell your friends, family, all the run group members that'll be on the course. You can tell them to be at certain parts on the course too, just to give you like that extra fuel to push you. And it's amazing how much smaller those hills really seem.
I heard a lot. It was a couple of years ago that when somebody went on social media and it got popular, to complain about the Cleveland course. So everybody kind of ran with that. And the reality is, after you ask anybody how the race was, they're like, actually, it was a really good course. I really enjoyed it. So again, you're going to hear those things and people say those things, but the reality is, after the race was over, everybody loved the course. It was a great course, and everybody had a good time running it. So don't listen to all the people that like to hear themselves talk before the race.
Yeah, with the exception of the shortway, we run every section of the course every day of the week. If we were able to run the shoreway, I'm sure we'd try to find our way onto
Yeah.
it. But yeah, everything else from Tremont to Ohio City to downtown, we're always hitting those hills and really practicing just to prepare for the race.
I was gonna say, I think if you've ran like any other races in downtown Cleveland, like even the turkey trot, like anything like that, you're getting little pieces of the course. So you're probably more prepared than you think going into it. And also, you're not gonna remember the course when you're finished anyways. Like I don't remember half of it. So once you're done, it's like that was good. But yeah, I think most people who run around here or run with the running groups, you're more prepared than you think.
One of my favorite parts of the course, I have always been a diehard Guardian / Indians fan my whole entire life. And the second I can play on the corner of Carnegie and Ontario, you could just see the joy in my comments. I love that the corner of Carnegie and Ontario is on that course. What about you guys? What's your favorite part of the, like, landmark wise, of the course?
I'm going to say Scranton Hill because it's a separator, right? Everybody worries about it, but man, there's nothing better than when you're charging up that and you're passing people. But realistically, going over the Guardians Bridge, the Carnegie Bridge, that's amazing view of downtown. Coming up to the ballpark up there, like I said, they going up it a little tough. Coming down, it feels amazing. You're getting close to the ballpark there, and that's just a lot of energy in that area, and it's so much fun with the city in the backdrop. It's beautiful.
That
Yeah.
bridge is my favorite too, Chris. That's my favorite part is just coming down there. It is. It's so fun.
Yeah, that's my
Yeah,
favorite part
same.
too. It's very Cleveland. It's like as
Mhm.
Cleveland as you get. And it also is kind of quiet, I think, in a way. So you really get to like take it in the moment. And it's a hard part of the course. So when you get to the top, you feel like really good about yourself. You're like, hey, I did this. And then yeah, it's as Cleveland as it gets right there.
Yeah, as you're getting towards the top of the hill, especially if you're doing the half marathon, you know that you're getting back into the city. You're feeling good. You just have to do that one last push. Chris and I actually ran the half last year together with one of our friends that we were trying to push towards a PR. And you could just tell, like, that's where you're at that point of the race where you're starting to get tired. You need that little extra push. But once you get to the top, you just start cruising. You've done the bridge. If you're a local, you've done it so many times with the run groups. Everyone loves running the bridges. And you just feel familiar at that point where you know you're going to finish strong.
The hardest parts of the course for me, and I've ran Cleveland the last 2 years, is the shoreway. Coming back mile 21 to the finish is always a struggle for me. So, any advice you guys have for whether they're brand new marathon runners or seasoned marathon runners, what is your advice coming back from Edgewater, running on the shoreway, and getting back down to that finish line?
Like any marathon, that's the toughest stretch. But Cleveland, I mean, that's kind of where we get our grit from, right? So it's that little extra toughness of being kind of rolling hills. So anywhere you can practice running rolling hills, and if you can do that towards the end of your long run, I think it can go a long way. There is a bike path that goes right along the shoreway there. That if you're a local, you can definitely go run that. That goes from pretty much from 25th down through Edgewater, that you can simulate that, full sun and rolling hills.
Yeah, the shoreway is hard for so many different reasons, but honestly, in every race you're ever going to do, mile 20 to the end is probably going to be the hardest part of your race, no matter what. So even on a perfect shaded flat course, you're probably still not going to feel that great. So again, don't freak out too much about it. But that is a spot where like again, going back to fueling and hydration, because it heats up right there. You're tired, you're depleted. That's a good time to like make sure, you've had some water at the last water stop, you took your gel. Like my husband, he requires a lot of water during the race. And when I kind of explained to him the course, he knew like he had to have a handheld water bottle with him and he had to make sure it was filled up before he got off to the shoreway. So he literally stopped at a water station and was like filling up his water bottle. So whatever you need to do to get through that, but it is like the sun is there, it's hot, you get a little bit of a headwind, and it is tough.
Yeah, as you're coming into that final 10K, there's no way around it. If we did the course in reverse, you'd be running through downtown the last 6 miles thinking, oh, wow, it's so hot. The sun's directly over us. But this is literally what you train for. You're training to be prepared those last 5 miles. If you run the bike trail from Edgewater to downtown, which I definitely recommend, I do it all the time, it won't seem that difficult. It's really just like in your mind on race day that you have that final stretch left and you've got to push through it.
Have you guys ever gone back on a course that you've done and be like, oh my God, this course, it had the biggest hill I've ever seen in my life. And you go back the next day and you're like, wait, that was the hill? No, there was a mountain here I had to climb. I mean, when you're that deep in it, you're just like, that's when that mental toughness kicks in, right? And just fall back onto trusting your training and just know that you've done the work. Your legs are going to be tired. You're going to be exhausted. You're going to be saying, I can't go any farther, but know that you've done the work, you've done the training, and just keep on putting one foot in front of the other. And before you know it, you're running down, through downtown towards that finish line.
Wow, that's all I can say. I can't even talk right now. I'm overwhelmed in such a good way because I feel so much better right now just because I learned a lot. I took in everything you guys said, and I'm sure the audience has done the exact same. And to be honest, I'm very excited now. Like I'm pumped up. I want to run this marathon right now. So to wrap up this show, how excited are you guys for the 2025 Cleveland Marathon?
I'm very excited because I feel like this was the worst winter ever, not ever, but in a while. So I'm like excited to see everybody kind of like defrost themselves and get out there. And hopefully it's a nice day. Like we'll see. We never know quite what we're going to get in Cleveland, but I think it'll be a good celebration for all that like tough winter running we all were doing this year.
Well, that's actually my race day motto. I always said, unless your name is God or Goddard, after the late great weatherman Dick Goddard, you don't know what the weather is going to be like on race day.
Yeah, I'm super excited for like the entire race weekend. Everything from volunteering at the expo Friday, seeing all my friends. One of my friends is coming in from Portland to run his second marathon, doing I'm going to do the 10K on Saturday and the half on Sunday. So it's just a full weekend of seeing everyone that you've seen from the running community. Some people maybe you haven't seen since last year's Cleveland Marathon. It's just such a cool community event. When I was running with Chris last year, we were just having a great time pacing our friend. And at one point, I don't remember if it was Chris or someone else, but they're like, how many people do you know on this course? Just because everyone's saying hi and like shouting my name. And it's just such a fun weekend.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say, Tyler, man. It's like I said, being like if you're from outside of Cleveland, Cleveland's amazing in May. Like you come May, June. I mean, there's not a better place than Cleveland. It's beautiful. You don't ever know what the weather's going to be, but it's going to be nice. I mean, you might get cooler, great, perfect. Like I love to run in cooler weather. If it's a warm, beautiful day, we'll make the most out of it. That's great. That's Cleveland. It's a great time to be. But if you're a local, you know the city, you know the course, you know the people out there, man. It's my absolute favorite weekend because it's just a celebration of Cleveland running for an entire weekend. Like I said, being an ambassador and volunteering down at the expo, and then I'll be same as Tyler. I'll be racing the 10K and then running the half marathon, and you're just going out there. You feel like you know everybody out there. You feel like you're a celebrity out there running because there's so many people out there that's supporting, running, and just the run groups are out there. The different people are there. They're all out there cheering you on, and you just feel like you're a local celebrity running the race, and there's not a better feeling. It's such a fun weekend. You're gonna love it.
There's also something about seeing everyone like hit all their goals too. Like after everyone's been training throughout with the various run groups and all that, just seeing the progress everyone makes is really cool.
And I think you can travel all over the world, but there's not really much that comes better to racing in your own hometown and having that and the people that you care about there to support you, your friends, your family, colleagues, whoever that might be. And, more often than not, we can't always get those people to all of our races anywhere they are. So it's always really fun to be home.
Well, Tyler, Chris, and Joanna, I cannot thank you guys enough for coming on today's episode of the Cleveland Marathon Podcast. I got a lot out of this. Jen, I'm going to speak on your behalf. I'm sure you got a lot out of this.
Oh, yes.
And there's no doubt in my mind the audience got a lot out of it. Even if they're not running the full, there's still a lot of information you guys provided that there was something for everybody to learn. Thank you guys so much for coming on. And to the audience, feel free to reach out to our guests on Instagram and let them know if you have any questions about prepping for the full marathon. I have their Instagram names on the screen and in the description of today's episode. With that being said, make sure you like and subscribe on the Cleveland Marathon YouTube and Spotify channels, where you can find great episodes just like this. What an excellent episode. Thank you guys once again. And I am your host, Adam, here with...
And I'm co-host Jen. Thanks, Cleveland.
And we'll see you on race weekend. Love you, Cleveland.